After my doctor's appointment was canceled, I thought I'd just head home early. Nothing unusual. But I was wrong. At 9:15, I heard a voice from my living room. Through the window, I saw my son-in-law on the phone. His voice was low, but I heard every word. It's done. The old man's brake lines are cut. We'll both be at his funeral tomorrow. My heart stopped. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I recorded everything. I watched, and what I uncovered next would destroy his perfect plan forever. He thought his scheme was flawless. He had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. I'm truly grateful that you're here with me. Before we continue, take a moment to leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps me feel connected to you, wherever you are in the world. And just a quick note, this story contains a few carefully crafted fictional details, added for storytelling and educational purposes. Any similarity to real people or places is purely coincidental, but the heart of the message is completely real. The doctor's office called at 8:45. Appointment canceled. I turned my truck around on Hawthorne Boulevard and headed back to Selwood, back to the bungalow I'd called home for 30 years. September in Portland meant the morning rain had just cleared. The street smelled of wet pavement and Douglas fir. I parked in my usual spot, noting Ryan's black BMW in the driveway. Odd. My son-in-law rarely visited on weekday mornings. I let myself in quietly out of habit. 30 years teaching literature had taught me to appreciate silence. That's when I heard his voice. It came from the living room, low and controlled. But it wasn't the warm, charming voice Ryan used around Natalie and me. This voice was cold, calculated, the voice of a stranger. I froze in the hallway. "It's done, Mom," he said into his phone. A pause. Then, "The old man's brake lines are cut. We'll both be attending his service tomorrow." The words hit me like a physical blow. My heart hammered against my ribs. But some part of my brain, the professor part, that had spent decades teaching students to think critically under pressure, that part kicked in. Don't panic. Analyze. Think. My hand moved to my phone. I opened the voice recorder, app fingers shaking, and pressed record. I held it up toward the living room. Ryan's voice continued oblivious. "Yeah, I know. But he was going to find out about the debt eventually. This way we get the insurance money, pay everything off, and Natalie never needs to know how bad things got." Another pause. 750,000, Mom. That's what his policy pays out? We split it clear our accounts and we're both free. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Tomorrow morning." I suggested he visit Natalie on the West Hills route. You know that road, steep winding? When the brakes fail on those hairpin turns? He trailed off. "Yeah, a tragic accident. At least it'll be quick." My vision blurred. Not from tears from pure rage, controlled by decades of discipline. I backed away from the doorstep by silent step. Years of walking library stacks had taught me how to move without sound. The hardwood didn't creak. I was outside before Ryan ever knew I'd been there. I sat there, phone clutched in my hand, with its recording of my son-in-law plotting against me. Not just Ryan, his mother too. Dorothea Castellano with her West Hills mansion and her contempt for the poor professor her son had married into. They'd planned this together. My wife Linda had passed 12 years ago. The grief nearly destroyed me, but it taught me something when you've lost everything once you learn to protect what remains. Natalie was all I had left, and she'd married a man who wanted me gone. I looked at the dashboard clock. 9:37. Ryan expected me home around noon. He didn't know the appointment had been canceled. He didn't know I'd heard everything. He thought he had time. He was wrong. I had maybe 3 hours before he started wondering where I was. 3 hours before he and Dorothea realized something had gone wrong. 3 hours to build a case so strong that both of them would spend the rest of their lives behind bars. I took a breath, started the engine, and made my first call. Dale Zimmerman had been keeping my vehicles running for 23 years. If anyone could tell me whether I was paranoid or in real danger, it was him. I pressed his number. He answered on the second ring. "Dale, it's Graham. Emergency. I need you right now." I gave him my location on 13th Avenue. "Bring your inspection equipment. Be there in 15. I sat in my truck watching Ryan's BMW still parked in my driveway 2 blocks up. He was probably in my living room right now waiting for me to come home so he could play the concerned son-in-law. Dale's service van pulled up at exactly 10 o'clock. He climbed out, a stocky man with grease-stained hands and worry in his eyes. "Graham, what's going on?" "I think my son-in-law sabotaged my brakes." Dale's expression shifted to shock. That's serious. I know. That's why I need you to check. Document everything. He grabbed his inspection camera and slid under my truck. I watched the small screen on his tablet as the camera fed live footage from underneath the chassis. 3 minutes later, Dale emerged. His face had gone pale. Graham, his voice was tight, your brake line's been cut. Not worn cut. Somebody took a blade and sliced it halfway through. It's done so it'll hold under normal driving, but the second you brake hard, the pressure will blow it out completely. He held up the tablet. Even to my untrained eye, the damage was obvious. A clean, precise cut through the hydraulic line, just deep enough to weaken it without immediate failure. This is deliberate. Dale continued, his hands shaking as he saved the video file. Calculated. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. He looked at me. This is someone trying to seriously harm you, Graham. I know. You need to call the police, right now. I need more evidence first. I need to make certain he can't talk his way out of this. Dale stared at me. Hey, you know who did it? Ryan borrowed my truck yesterday. Said he needed to haul art supplies for Natalie's studio. He had it for 3 hours. Jesus. Dale ran a hand through his hair. Your son-in-law. Why would I... He stopped. The insurance? $750,000. I confirmed. With Natalie as beneficiary. If I'm gone, Ryan gets access through her. Dale's expression hardened. I'll testify. Court police statement, whatever you need. Nobody gets away with this. I gripped his shoulder. Thank you. He looked at me, fear and determination mixing in his eyes. What else aren't you telling me? I took a breath. It's not just Ryan. I heard him on the phone this morning. His mother helped plan it. Dale's hands shook as he backed up the files. Graham, who could do something like this? I met his eyes. My son-in-law, and his mother is the one who came up with the plan. Dale's question hung in the air between us. Why would Ryan do this? The answer required going back. Back to when I first realized something was terribly wrong. 2 months earlier, I'd noticed Natalie changing. My daughter had always been vibrant. At 32, she ran her own graphic design business from a small studio in the Pearl District. She loved her work, loved creating. Every time we met for our weekly dinners, she'd show me her latest projects, logos, websites, illustrations, her eyes bright with pride. But that July, something shifted. She started losing weight. Not the healthy kind, the kind that comes from not eating, from stress, eating away at you from the inside. The spark in her eyes dimmed. Her smiles became rare, then disappeared entirely. She stopped talking about her work, stopped sharing anything meaningful. And Ryan was always there, always screening her calls, always speaking for her, always finding reasons why she couldn't meet me alone. Natalie's tired, Graham. Maybe next week. She's swamped with a big project. I'll have her call you. We're trying to spend more quality time together as a couple, you understand? I understood all right. I understood that my daughter was being isolated, controlled, manipulated, but I had no proof, nothing concrete, just a father's instinct screaming that something was wrong. So I did what professors do. I researched, I investigated, I hired Alan Prescott. Alan was a forensic accountant recommended by a colleague at Portland State who'd used him in a messy divorce case. 60 years old, methodical, discreet. The kind of man who could find financial skeletons in the deepest closets. I met him at a coffee shop downtown away from prying eyes. I need to know about my son-in-law's finances, I told him. Something's wrong with my daughter, and I think money might be at the root of it. Alan didn't judge. He just nodded and got to work. 3 weeks later, he called me back to the same coffee shop. The file he placed on the table between us was thick. Mr. Foster, he said, his voice grave, your instincts were correct. He opened the file. Bank statements, credit reports, employment records, all obtained through legal channels, public records, credit checks Natalie had authorized when they bought the house. Information Ryan had left carelessly unsecured. The picture they painted was devastating. Ryan had been fired from his position at Cascade Financial Advisors 4 months earlier. Not laid off, fired. The reason, irregularities with client accounts. In plain English, he'd been using company funds for personal expenses, then trying to cover his tracks. The firm had let him go quietly to avoid scandal, but his career in Portland's financial sector was finished. He's been unemployed for 4 months, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Yes, but he's been hiding it from your daughter. Every morning he leaves the house at the same time, drives to various coffee shops and libraries, comes home at 6. Maintains the illusion of employment. The deception alone was bad enough. But Alan wasn't finished. His debt situation is critical. Credit card balances total $185,000, all in his name, but some jointly with Natalie. He's been spending luxury items, expensive dinners, designer clothes, all while bringing in zero income. How is he making minimum payments? He's not. Several cards are maxed out. Others are 30, 60 days past due, and their mortgage. Alan pulled out another document. 3 months behind. The bank sent a pre-foreclosure notice 2 weeks ago. My hands clenched on the table. Natalie had no idea. She trusted him completely, had given him control of their household finances, and he was driving them toward financial ruin, while pretending everything was fine. "There's more," Alan said quietly. "Things on his computer. Search history." He pulled out his laptop. "Mr. Foster, your son-in-law, has been researching something very specific, and it's extremely disturbing." Alan turned his laptop toward me. The screen showed a document, a list of search queries time-stamped and dated. Ryan's personal computer access through shared cloud storage that Natalie had innocently given Alan permission to review. My eyes scanned the list. Each entry made my blood run colder. How to make car accident look natural. Life insurance payout after accidental death timeline. How long do police investigate single vehicle accidents? Brake failure statistics by vehicle, age, widow, access to life insurance funds. The searches went back 6 months. Methodical, researched. This wasn't impulse. This was planning. "There's more," Alan said quietly. He pulled up another file. Text messages. "I accessed the phone records through the family account. Your daughter authorized it when she hired me to review their joint finances. The messages were between Ryan and someone named Bianca Sterling. I didn't recognize the name. The first few messages were flirtatious, then romantic, then explicit. An affair clearly. But that wasn't what made Alan's expression so grim. I scrolled down to a message from 3 weeks ago. Ryan, once the old man is gone and we have the $750K, we're free. Costa Rica by Christmas. Natalie will be devastated, makes it easier to leave her. Bianca, you're sure this will work? Ryan, trust me. Old truck, old brakes, steep roads. Tragic accident. Nobody questions it. We'll be on a beach in 6 months. My hands shook. I set the phone down carefully, afraid I might crush it. He's not just cheating on Natalie, I said, my voice barely steady. He's planning to... I couldn't finish the sentence. Yes. Alan's voice was grave. And there's one more thing. 6 months ago, someone called your insurance company claiming to be you. They asked detailed questions about beneficiary procedures, payout timelines, requirements for accidental death claims. Ryan. The call came from his cell phone. I pulled the records. I sat back in my chair. The coffee shop sounds faded away, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of other customers, the rain starting outside. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just debt. Ryan was planning to eliminate me for the insurance money, and he was planning to abandon my daughter once he had it. What are you going to do? Alan asked. I thought for a moment. Can you document all of this? Everything you found, already done. It's all in the file. Good. I stood up. I need to make a change to my insurance policy. Today. By that evening, I'd contacted my insurance company and restructured the policy. Instead of a direct payout to Natalie, the $750,000 would go into a managed trust fund dispersed over 10 years. Natalie would receive monthly payments, but no one, not Ryan, not anyone could access the lump sum. Ryan would never know about the change. I made sure of that. I called Alan that night. It's done. The policy's been restructured. Good. He paused. Graham, be careful. This man is planning something terrible. The searches, the messages, he's serious. I know. Maybe you should tell Natalie. Warn her. With what proof that her husband's in debt and having an affair, she'll defend him. She loves him, and he'll know I've been investigating. I took a breath. I need more time. More evidence, something undeniable. Just promise me you'll be careful. I will. But I wasn't careful enough. I thought I had time. I thought Ryan was still in the planning stages, that I could gather more evidence, build an airtight case, protect Natalie from the truth, until I had no choice but to tell her. That was 2 months ago. This morning, standing in my hallway listening to Ryan's phone call, I understood. He'd moved from planning to execution. The searches, the affair, the insurance inquiries, all of it had been preparation. And today was supposed to be the day I disappeared. Dale had given me forensic proof, but I needed more. I needed visual evidence that would leave no room for doubt. Philip Norwood had been my neighbor for 12 years. Retired accountant, lived in the Blue Craftsman 2 doors down. He was the kind of neighbor who kept his lawn perfect, knew everyone's names, and most importantly right now had installed a comprehensive security camera system after a package theft 3 years ago. Those cameras pointed directly at my driveway. I walked to his house at 10:30. He answered on the second knock, coffee mug and hand-puzzled expression when he saw my face. "Graham, everything okay?" "Philip, I need a favor. It's urgent." I kept my voice steady. "Yesterday, Ryan borrowed my truck. I have reason to believe he tampered with it. Your security cameras, they might have recorded something." Philip's expression shifted from puzzlement to concern. He'd always been sharp, quick to read between lines. That accountant's mind still working even in retirement. "Come in." His home office had 3 monitors showing live feeds from 6 cameras. He sat down at his desk, pulling up the archive footage. "What time yesterday?" "Afternoon, maybe 2 o'clock. Philip's fingers moved across the keyboard. The monitors flickered, showing yesterday's date. Monday, September 18th, 2 hours p.m. And there it was. Ryan's black BMW pulled into my driveway. The camera angle was perfect, high-definition, clear view. Ryan got out, looked around carefully, too carefully, the look of someone checking if they're being watched. He backed my truck closer to the garage, positioning it. Then he opened his BMW's trunk and pulled out a black toolbox. Not borrowed tools, his own. "That's premeditation right there," Philip muttered. Ryan glanced around one more time, then dropped to the ground and slid under my truck. The camera caught it all. The timestamp in the corner began counting. 2:03 p.m., 2:04 p.m., 2:05 p.m. "Can you zoom in?" I asked. Philip adjusted the view. The angle wasn't perfect, but you could see Ryan's legs, his body position, his arms working under the vehicle. At one point, his hand emerged holding a tool, something that caught the light. Metal. Sharp. 18 minutes, Philip said as Ryan finally slid back out at 2:21 p.m. Nobody spends 18 minutes under a truck to check the oil. Ryan stood, brushed dirt off his clothes. He pulled a cloth from his pocket and wiped his hands carefully. Then he checked his phone, typed something, a text probably. To Dorothy, I thought, confirming it was done. He put the toolbox back in his BMW, got in, and drove away. The entire thing captured in crystal clear HD. "Jesus, Graham!" Philip turned to look at me, his face pale. He was really trying to... He couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes." Philip swallowed hard. "I'm copying this. All angles. Every frame." His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. "And I'm calling my lawyer this afternoon. When this goes to court, I want to testify. I want to make sure this bastard can't talk his way out of what I saw." He handed me a USB drive 5 minutes later. "Everything's on here. Time-stamped, dated, multiple camera angles. This is as solid as evidence gets." I gripped his shoulder. "Thank you, Philip." "Graham," he met my eyes. "Be careful. A man who'd do this, he's dangerous." "I know. That's why I'm gathering everything before I move against him." I walked back toward my truck, the USB drive heavy in my pocket. Between Dale's forensic video and Philip's security footage, I had Ryan dead to rights. The planning, the execution, all of it documented. But watching Ryan's face on that footage, cold, methodical, checking his phone with satisfaction, I'd seen something that chilled me to the bone. Not the charming man who'd won Natalie's heart, not the smooth-talking son-in-law who'd sat at my dinner table. A stranger, calculated, dangerous. Someone who could spend 18 minutes sabotaging another man's vehicle, then text casually and drive away without a trace of remorse. That's who my daughter had married. The evidence wasn't enough. I needed Dorothea to panic before the police arrived. At 11:15, I called Dale again. "I need one more favor, a big one. Name it. Can you arrange a tow truck? I need my truck delivered somewhere specific, with a message." Dale understood immediately. "You're going after the mother. She planned this with him. She deserves to know what's coming." 20 minutes later, I stood in a coffee shop parking lot on Hawthorne, writing carefully on a piece of paper torn from my notebook. My handwriting needed to be clear. Deliberate, the kind of precise script that couldn't be mistaken for anything but intentional. Dear Mrs. Castellano, this is a gift from your son Ryan. The break lines were deliberately cut to eliminate me. I thought you should know what kind of conspiracy you've participated in. The police now have complete evidence, including this morning's phone call, where you both discussed my funeral. Sincerely, Graham Foster. I folded it once and handed it to the tow truck driver Dale had sent a wiry man in his 50s, who asked no questions. Take this truck to the Castellano estate in West Hills. Ring the doorbell. Give this note to whoever answers. And if you can film her reaction, he nodded slowly. You got it, Professor. The tow truck rumbled away, carrying my sabotaged vehicle like a piece of evidence wrapped in accusation. At 11:30, I dialed Detective Helen Torres at Portland Police Central Precinct. She answered on the third ring. Detective Torres, homicide? My name is Graham Foster. I'm calling to report an attempted murder against me by my son-in-law. There was a pause. Mr. Foster, that's a very serious accusation. I have a recorded confession. I have forensic video documentation of brake line sabotage. I have security camera footage showing him under my truck with tools. And I have financial records establishing motive. I'm on my way to your office right now. Her tone shifted. Professional. Focused. Come immediately. I'll have a team ready. At 11:42, my phone buzzed. The tow truck driver. Professor, I delivered it. She read the note. Her face went white. She started screaming in Italian, I think it was Italian, and slammed the door. The truck's still sitting in her driveway. Did you get video? Yeah, got the whole thing. Send it to this number. Thank you. I hung up and allowed myself the smallest smile. Dorothea knew. Right now she was probably calling Ryan, warning him, telling him everything was falling apart. They'd panic. They'd make mistakes. They'd try to run or destroy evidence or craft desperate alibis. But by the time they realized they should have disappeared, it would already be too late. I started my rental car and headed toward Central Precinct, where Detective Torres was waiting. Perfect. Let them panic. Let them scramble. By the time they understood what was happening, every door would already be closed. I arrived at Portland Police Central Precinct at noon sharp. Detective Helen Torres met me in the lobby, a woman in her mid-40s, with sharp eyes and 15 years of homicide investigations behind her. She led me to a small interview room with a table, 2 chairs, and a recording device. Mr. Foster, she began, settling into her seat. Walk me through everything. I laid out the evidence methodically, the way I used to organize lectures. Chronological, systematic, irrefutable. First, I played the recording from this morning. Ryan's voice filled the room cold and clear. It's done, Mom. The old man's brake lines are cut. We'll both be at his funeral tomorrow. Torres listened without interruption. When it finished, she replayed it. Twice. Both of them, I confirmed. Ryan and his mother, Dorothea Castellano. Next, I showed her Dale's forensic video. The brake line deliberately severed halfway through. Torres leaned closer to the screen, studying the clean blade marks. This is premeditated, she muttered. Textbook. Then came Philip Norwood's security footage. 18 minutes of Ryan crouched beneath my truck with tools in hand. Torres watched the entire sequence, her expression hardening with each passing minute. Finally, I spread Alan Prescott's financial files across the table. The debts, the affair, the internet searches, the fake insurance inquiry. How to stage a car accident. Torres read aloud from one of the printouts. She looked up at me. Motive means opportunity. You've documented everything. I'm a professor, I said quietly. Research is what I do. Torres sat back and exhaled slowly. Mr. Foster, in 15 years on the job, I have never seen a victim build a case this airtight. You've done our work for us. She stood and began making calls. Within 20 minutes, arrest warrants were being prepared for both Ryan Castellano and Dorothea Castellano. I want to be there when you arrest him, I said. Torres paused. That's unusual. He tried to eliminate me. I deserve to look him in the eye when he realizes he failed. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. We'll stage it. You go home. Act normal. Officers will position themselves outside. When you're ready, confront him. We'll move in. 2:00. Thank you, Detective. At 1:45, an unmarked sedan dropped me off 2 blocks from my house. I walked the rest of the way, my heart pounding with each step. Ryan's black BMW sat in my driveway. He was here. waiting. I approached, slowly keeping my face neutral, my movements calm. Through the living room window, I could see him sitting on my couch, relaxed, comfortable. He was waiting for me, waiting for news that I was dead. Before I walk back into that house and face him, I want to ask you something. If you were in my position, what would you do? Comment face him if you would confront the truth head on, or walk away if you believe escape is the smarter choice. I'm reading every comment because the next moment changes everything. And a quick note before we continue: the next part of this story includes a few dramatized elements that may not be entirely factual. If that's not something you wish to hear, feel free to stop the video here and choose content that feels right for you. I opened the front door and stepped inside. Ryan looked up from his phone, startled. For a split second, I saw something flicker across his face. Surprise, maybe even disappointment, before the mask slipped back into place. Graham, I thought you had a doctor's appointment. I closed the door carefully behind me and set my keys on the table, watching him. It was canceled. Something came up at the last minute. Ryan's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it's good you're okay. Natalie was worried when you didn't answer your phone. Was she... I sat down in the chair across from him, keeping my voice calm, almost conversational. That's interesting, because she didn't call me today. Ryan's hands tightened around his phone. Tell me something. Ryan, I continued, when exactly did you cut my brake lines? The silence that followed was absolute. The color drained from Ryan's face. His mouth opened, then closed. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Ryan's own voice filled the room, sharp and cold. It's done, Mom. The old man's brake lines are cut. We'll both be at his funeral tomorrow. Ryan shot to his feet, the phone clattering from his hands onto the hardwood floor. Where did you get that? I came home early this morning, I said quietly, not moving from my chair. I heard everything. Your phone call with Dorothea. Your plan, your timeline, including the part where you discussed which funeral home to use. The mask shattered completely. Ryan's face twisted with rage, his fists clenching at his sides. You interfering old fool! You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea what you've cost me? I raised my hand toward the window. The front door burst open. Detective Helen Torres entered, first followed by 3 uniformed officers. Their weapons remained holstered, but their hands rested on them, ready, professional, controlled. Ryan Castellano, Torres said in a clear, authoritative voice, you are under arrest for attempted murder in the 1st degree. Ryan stumbled backward, his legs hitting the couch. He collapsed onto it, his fury evaporating into wild-eyed desperation. Wait, you don't understand. It was her idea. Dorothea said he didn't deserve to be part of this family. She planned the whole thing. I just needed the money. The debts I had no choice. 2 officers moved in, pulling Ryan to his feet and turning him around. One produced handcuffs while Torres continued reading his Miranda rights in that same steady professional tone. At that moment, the front door opened again. Natalie burst through her face, pale with confusion. Torres had sent an officer to pick her up 20 minutes ago. She needed to witness this, to hear the truth herself. Dad, what's Ryan? She froze in the doorway, staring at her husband in handcuffs, at the officers, at me, sitting calmly in my chair. Torres stepped forward, holding up her phone. Miss Foster, I need you to hear something. She played the recording. Natalie listened, her face going pale, her hands beginning to tremble. When it finished, she looked at Ryan with an expression I'd never seen before, horror mixed with disbelief. Nat, baby, let me explain. Ryan began twisting against the officer's grip. You were going to eliminate my father. Her voice cracked on the last word. It wasn't supposed to be like this, Ryan shouted as the officers began moving him toward the door. He was in the way. We could have had everything. The insurance, the house, everything. Your father's been controlling your life for years. Natalie took a step back, pressing her hand to her mouth. The officers led Ryan outside. Through the window, I watched them guide him into the back of a patrol car, his head forced down as he ducked inside. Torres made a second call, her voice crisp and efficient. Execute warrant number 2. Dorothea Castellano, West Hills address. Charge conspiracy to commit murder. Send backup, she may resist. Ryan was gone. The house fell silent except for Natalie's quiet, shuddering breaths. She turned to me slowly, tears streaming down her face. His mother, too. I stood and nodded. They planned it together, sweetheart. Both of them. Natalie's legs gave out. I caught her before she fell, and she collapsed into my arms, sobbing for the husband she thought she knew, for the life she thought she had, for the family that had just revealed itself to be built on lies. Outside on the porch, Torres stood with her arms crossed, watching the patrol car disappear down 13th Avenue toward the precinct. It was over. By 7 o'clock that evening, Portland rain tapped softly against the kitchen windows. Natalie sat across from me, wrapped in one of my old sweaters, her eyes red and swollen. How did I not see it? I slid Alan Prescott's folders across the table. He was skilled at deception. That's what made him dangerous. She opened the first file with trembling hands. Ryan's internet searches the affair, the financial manipulation. Fresh tears fell. He was planning to hurt you and then leave me anyway. That's what dangerous people do, I said quietly. They lie perfectly until the end. Natalie looked up, guilt shadowing her face. I chose him over you. All those times you warned me. You chose what you thought was love. I interrupted gently. You're human. What matters is you're safe now. What were the signs we missed? We talked about the red flags we'd both explained away, the isolation, the financial control, how Ryan always needed to know where she was, the way he'd slowly cut her off from friends. I thought he loved me, she whispered. He wanted to control you. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. Detective Torres. Mr. Foster wanted to update you. Ryan Castellano is in custody at Multnomah County. Full confession on record. No release. Dorothea was arrested this afternoon. She denied everything initially, but your evidence has her contained. Both face serious criminal charges. 15 to 25 years each minimum. Thank you, Detective. When I hung up, Natalie was watching me with wounded eyes that reminded me of her mother's. What do we do now? You heal, I said simply. I help you. We rebuild. I took her hand. Your mother would be proud of how strong you are. This time Natalie smiled through her tears. 2 weeks later, the preliminary hearing concluded. Ryan and Dorothea were both denied release. Trial date January. The prosecutors were confident the evidence was overwhelming. Natalie moved into a small apartment in Selwood 3 blocks from my house. She'd started divorce paperwork and begun therapy twice weekly. Last Saturday, she set up a booth at Portland Saturday Market, selling her artwork for the first time in 2 years. She came home with $700 and a smile I hadn't seen in months. My truck had new brake lines. Dale installed them himself and tested every system personally. Life was beginning again. That Sunday morning, Natalie came over for coffee. We sat at the same kitchen table, but this time sunlight streamed through the window and her eyes were clear. Dad, she said quietly, thank you for not giving up on me. I squeezed her hand. Never. You're my daughter. That will never change. She smiled a real smile and sipped her coffee. I'd spent 30 years teaching literature. Every story has someone working against the hero. The difference is whether you recognize the danger in time. That canceled doctor's appointment wasn't luck. It was a second chance. For me, for Natalie, for truth. My daughter was safe. Justice was being served. And I'd learned something they never teach in literature classes. The most important moment isn't what happens in the story, it's being here to tell it. Age isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And wisdom protects the ones we love. Looking back on my own story, I now see how close I came to losing everything. If I had stayed silent, if I had kept telling myself that things would somehow fix themselves, you would not be hearing these grandpa stories today. I made excuses. I ignored warning signs. I chose comfort over truth. Don't be like me. When your instincts whisper that something is wrong, listen. When someone isolates your loved ones or controls their money, and choices act sooner, not later. Here are the lessons I learned the hard way. Love does not require blindness. Family loyalty should never demand silence in the face of danger. Evidence matters. Patience matters. And age is not weakness. It is perspective, if you are brave enough to use it. I believe God gave me clarity when fear could have paralyzed me. God placed the right people in my path at the exact moment I needed them. And God reminded me that truth always finds a way into the light when we choose courage over denial. These grandpa stories are not told for drama alone. They are warnings. Manipulation, financial control, and emotional isolation happen quietly in families every day. My hope is that these grandpa stories help someone recognize the signs sooner than I did and protect the people they love before it's too late. If this story resonated with you, I invite you to leave a comment and share your thoughts, like the video, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together. Thank you sincerely for staying with me until the very end. Please note the next story includes certain selectively fictionalized elements created for educational purposes. If this type of content isn't right for you, feel free to exit and choose something that better suits your interests.